So in this training, I will go over exactly what Collaborate Ultra is, how to access it through your Blackboard Learn course site, how to set up a session, how to use the various functions and features of Collaborate Ultra, how to record a session, how to share a PowerPoint presentation with your students, and how to share any other applications through that tool as well, and the various roles and permissions that are available in a session. And then finally, some follow-up tips at the very end. So Collaborate Ultra is a tool available in all of your Blackboard Learn course sites. It is a video conferencing tool that opens directly in a web browser and can be used in a variety of ways. So you can use it to hold live class lectures, or you can record your lectures for your students to view at a later time. You can even allow your students to share their talents or knowledge in a session as well. So now let me show you how to access the tool in your course site. And to do that, I'm going to go into a practice course site and show you how to enable that. So you can actually access the tool by going through the Tools menu, and then you can find it there. You can, for easy access for your students and for you, you can create a menu item by going to the plus in the upper left-hand corner and then select Tool Link. Give it a title that that entails how you will be using it in the class. So if you want to use it for a live class session, or if you just want to call it Collaborate Ultra and then give your students guidance on how to access it. Then from the drop-down menu, select the tool, check the box to make it available to your users so your students will see that menu link. And then you see that the link has been added at the bottom. Now, if you have any problems locating the tool in your course site, you can always contact us at Eli IT Support, and we will provide that contact information. So click on the Ultra menu link, and that will take you directly into the tool. So once you can see listed here several different ways that the sessions have been created for using different settings. To create a session, you can use the Create Session button, or you can use the open duration for the duration of the course room. So this is a default course room, and it's easy access. You just come in here and just go ahead and access it for use of any at any particular time. To edit any of these settings, you can hover over to the right of the course room or of the session and select the three dots in a circle, and that will give you several options to choose from. The first one is, of course, to join the session. Next is to edit the settings that you have already created for the session. View reports is an attendance record that is created whenever the session is used. So any time you use it, list will show up letting you know when participants joined and left the session. So you'll see those reports. Then, of course, you can delete any sessions that you've created, or you can copy a guest link. So this guest link can be used to send out to anyone who is not listed in your class roster. So that can be helpful to have outside guests come in and present, or to that effect. You can also copy this link into an announcement that you can post and send out to all of your students so that they don't even have to log into the course site to access the Collaborate session. In the upper left-hand corner, you will find the hamburger that will lead you to menu options over here. And this is where you will find access to the recordings, any recordings that you create. So if you have recordings that are older than 30 days, you will need to come over here to the recent recording filters and just select recordings in a range. And that will bring up a little calendar range where you can choose that option. So going back to that hamburger, that will take you back into the sessions. So let me show you how to create a session. So click on the Create Session button, menu button, and then add a title for how you intend to use the session. So if you want to use it for office hours, or if you want to use it for a live class session, you can just type in that name. The first option that will come up is a guest link, and you can uncheck that if you want to disable that option. Again, you can come over here and copy that guest link that you can send out to anyone who's not on your class roster or to your students. So you can, under the event details, you can use the start and end date. If you want, you can select the no end date, and that will keep it open for the duration of the course. You can select repeated options, repeated sessions, early entry point. Now this will, 15 minutes or more is recommended so that your students will have time to come in and get set up for a session. Now session settings, the default role that anyone coming into your session using the main session link will be that role that they join. Options here to allow downloading of the recording, and this will also give you that option as well. So just keep that in mind, that if you want to be able to download the recording and save it to use maybe in another course or use elsewhere, you can always check that option. Participants, this is where you will decide before the session what permissions you want to allow your participants to have. I tend to recommend that you leave the video and whiteboard sharing features off at this time, and that way when you go into a session you can lead the discussion, you can present your material, and in the live session you can always turn these back on. I can show you where that is later in this tutorial. Then of course there is the option to default, it's turned on, that you can allow anyone joining the session to use their phone for audio. And this is helpful in case anyone doesn't have microphone and headset, so that can come in handy. And then of course there's the chat options if you want to turn these on or not, your choice. So click Save, and it does create that session. Again, you could come over here and get those, edit those session settings, or view the reports by using those three dots in the circle. So to actually go into a session, you can click the get the link and then click Join the Room, and that will open up a Collaborate Ultra session. Take a few moments, but not too long. And then in the upper left-hand corner, you will have access to the session menu. And this is pretty self-explanatory, but I do want to point out this is where you would start your recording, and the option to leave the session when it's over. You can always just click the X in the upper right-hand corner of your browser to close it out, but that is an option there as well. And there is the option to use your phone for audio located here. It is also in the other menu, Collaborate panel menu as well. These three options actually go to Blackboard Collaborate corporate site. So if you want to report an issue, it does go to their corporate site, and you may not get a response. It's more of just for the purposes of improving their product. I think there may be an option here where you can request feedback from your issue. You can also contact Eli IT support, and we will be glad to help resolve any issues that you're having in a Collaborate Ultra session. But just note that this does not create a ticket for us. So let me close that out. Now in the lower right hand corner, this will give you access to the Collaborate panel. And that will take you into the Collaborate panel. The first option I'll go over, the first option is the chat panel. And this is where you can now have the option as a moderator to chat with just any other moderators in the session, or chat with all of your participants. And that can come in handy in case you need to work with someone to help address questions or answers, and you want to just speak with the other moderators. Next to that is the attendees, and this is where you will have a list of attendees that will be broken out into their category of their role, be it moderator, presenter, participant, or captioner. And I will go over those roles more fully after a little bit. Let me skip over shared content for a moment and talk to you about the My Settings area. Now, the My Settings area is where you can come in and set up your audio and video settings. So you might have done this when you joined a session before. You will, as a participant, so you would click on this and it will take you through checking your microphone levels. It doesn't let you record like the original Collaborate used to, but you will see the microphone bar moving, and that will let you know that your microphone is working. And then just select yes, and for your webcam, even if you're not going to use it, select yes. That's the only way you can close out that window. And this, of course, is where you can select use your phone for audio here as well. Just a quick note that the PIN is it's a unique identifier for each individual who joins a session. So this isn't a PIN that you can send out, send out to other participants to join. They will have to come into the session and click on that area to get this phone number and their own unique PIN to call in. And then you can adjust the speaker and microphone options located here. There is the option for displaying closed captioning. When it is available, you can check this box. If you need closed captioning for a student in your course, it is recommended that you contact the Nova Disability Services, and they can assist you with those needs. Next is the notifications settings. So you can adjust these as you want. Sometimes these are just notifications for just you. Each individual in the session will have this area and be able to make these adjustments for themselves. So some of these may become a little bit distracting when you're presenting. So just give it a try. You can always come in and uncheck these during a session if you find some of them to be a little bit interruptive. But you do want to make sure that you're aware of when students have questions, so keep an eye on that. Then you can collapse the notification settings and expand the session settings. Now, as I was talking in the preparation, the setup of a session, this is where you can come into the live session and change those permissions. So you can uncheck or check these options if you want to grant the students, give them more interactivity in a session. You can just come in here and check those options and allow them to participate more fully. So now let me go back to the share content area. And this is where you will have a lot of the collaborative aspect of the course, where you're able to share content with your students, and what you share will show up in this media space here. And students will have this area down here that will, depending on their permissions that have been granted to them, they may or may not have the microphone and video options available, but this is where you would toggle your microphone on and mute your microphone, as well as your webcam if you choose to use it. This icon here will actually open up the My Settings area, so it's a quick access to that. It also closes it, so you can always keep that handy. And then you have the status, where you can come in, click this. You have several options here, but this is where you can indicate that you have stepped away from your computer at the moment, and it gives an indication here to anyone in the session that you are not available to chat, and when you are ready to rejoin the session, just click the I'm back, and that green check mark shows up again. Again, there's other options available here status-wise to show for the session. And then, of course, there's the toggle to raise and lower your hand. So that, and that would be dependent upon whether those notifications are showing up, whether individuals, whether you see them from other students or not, but you will see it. See there, if you want to open up the participants list, you can actually see when someone has their hand raised in the participants list. So that can be handy. So now let me go to the back to the share content. I do have the whiteboard up. The whiteboard tools are here at the top. The pencil tool allows you to run freehand items on the board. You can also use the various shape tools and create shapes. You can change the color of those shapes if you want and create different new shapes. There we go. And you can add text if you want to add a topic of discussion. So then if you want to use the pointing finger to draw attention to something on the screen, you can use that. And the arrow is actually the select tool. So this will allow you to select an item on the screen and either move it, or it also allows you to delete just that item. Otherwise, the erase tool will clear everything on the screen, so you will just be able to remove it all at once. And there is the option here to have these, each participant in the session will have these view controls where they can zoom in, zoom out, fill the entire screen, or go back to the actual size. And that can be helpful to the participants if some of the images on the screen is a bit small. So let me go to share files and point out a handy feature that is available. So let me show you how to upload PowerPoint slides. So you can use PowerPoint, PDFs, PNG, JPEG files, but you just want to make sure that the file size isn't too large. So let me select the sample PowerPoint slide, and I'll select open, and you can see it going through the converting process, and it will twirl around until it's converted, and then once it's ready, you will see the grade box grade bar right there. These PowerPoints will stay in the course for the duration until you select the delete key, which is the trash can. So let me select that particular PowerPoint and select share. And then you want to select the particular PowerPoint that you want to start with, and it fills the viewing screen. And again, this is where you can use the viewing tools to zoom in, for the participants to use the viewing tool to zoom in, zoom out, and fill the entire screen. You can also use the whiteboard tools on your PowerPoint. Now, just note also that if you, the whiteboard tools do not stay on the PowerPoint. So once you move on to the next PowerPoint slide, when you go back, that content is no longer there. Now you can either navigate forward by using the slide deck that is on the right hand side, or you can use the slide navigator here in the lower middle part of your screen. So this will navigate forward and this navigates backwards. And if you click in the middle of the navigator button, this will close the slide navigator deck on the right hand side, and click it again. That will open that slide navigator deck back up and let you go to a different slide. It also, if you want to go back to the previous menu, you can use this arrow here, and that will take you back to where you can use polling questions or breakout groups or go into sharing an application. Now, I want to point out that this, the stop sharing options. So the square and the circle, that is the stop sharing there. You can also use this stop sharing option here. Now, when you go to share an application, you can share either just an application, which will bring up everything that you have open on your computer, or you can select share the entire screen, and that, of course, if you have double monitors, you can make that selection as to which one you want to share. Now, I do want to point out that if you share something, you definitely want to go to open it in a new browser window. So basically what is happening is that you are opening up, trying to open up an application that is in the same browser window, or maybe on a different tab, but as the application, the Ultra application. So it's repeating itself. So if you don't worry, you can just click on the tab that you want to share, and it will go into that. But it's just very helpful if you already have this tab or browser window open separately, so that you can go directly to that and not end up with this kind of scary moment. Also, let me just show you what it looks like when you are sharing an application. You will get, say you're sharing a website, you will get this sharing bar at the bottom of your screen. It kind of indicates where you are sharing. And so you would come over here, and if you want to go to something in a different menu, or you want to scroll down in this website, you could do so over here. Don't confuse that with this area over here in the Ultra tool. So this is what your participants will see. So you can actually see what your participants are seeing, and over here you can do the demonstration. Now let me go back and talk about the participants panel. So this actually demonstrates the categories that participants can show up in. So moderators, broken up into presenters and participants. And you can see here who has their microphone on. You can see if there is a polling question, quiz question, the answers that are given. You can also see if someone has their hand raised, so that can be helpful if you want to call on somebody. So there is the option to now in recent update that you can actually drag and drop this participants list out into the middle of the screen. So let me see if I can go ahead and share that with you. Okay, so you will see here the attendance list, and you got these little three little bars here that will allow you to drag the panel out, and that way you can view that participant panel. You can also view the chat and make sure that you can see those questions coming in. Let me go back to the slides, and the roles that are available in a session are based on you as an instructor of a course and any teaching assistants that may be in your course. If they go in through the main moderator, the main session link, they will have a moderator access. And that means that that's the highest access. So that gives you the ability to share content, edit, manage raised hands and notifications, and it also gives you the ability to change roles and permissions. The next option is a presenter. So this will have certain abilities. They can share, edit content. They can also manage raised hands and notifications, but they cannot change other participants' roles or permissions. So they're helpful on a certain level. They can present in a class. They can answer questions, but they just can't, mess with anyone else's roles. And then the participant is the really the basic level role, and that, depending on the session permission settings that you have set up, that will depend on whether or not they can share any content, audio, write on whiteboards. They can manage their own notifications, but they can't manage any raised hands. And then they cannot, of course, change any roles or permissions of any other participants. And then the closed captioner. They really are in the course to only provide closed captioning, so that doesn't really matter for these other options. And if again, if you do need closed captioning, that you would want to contact the Nova Disability Services for that. And finally, let me talk to you about some final thoughts, some final tips on how to have a successful session. So I do recommend using Google Chrome for the best Ultra experience. It has fewer issues and it really works well. So, and if you want to use the application sharing feature, you will need to install the WebRTC extension, but it will take you through that process. So there's no need to, oh my goodness, I got to do that beforehand. It just, when you're first time you go to use it, it will say you need to install this, click yes to install it, and it does it for you. So easy peasy. Next, I want to recommend that you do a practice session. Just make sure that you get familiar with the Ultra interface and all the features, and make sure that you just work out all the kinks before you share this tool with your students. And then I think I mentioned it in this training already, but just note that the pin, when you click on the Use Your Phone for Audio, is unique to each individual in a session, so they will need to go into that My Settings area and click on that option to get that pin and call in that number and establish that connection for themselves. And then the microphone and headset, or just using your mic in general, even if you're using it through your phone, be sure to use that mute button when you're not talking, because that will eliminate any feedback any really interruptions. And I want to recommend that to your participants, students as well, so that there's not a lot of background noise when you're presenting. And then you want to make sure that you have a good internet connection when you're joining a session. It is Collaborate Ultra is really good about moderating the connectivity for your connection, but a great connection will really help establish a good webinar, a good training session, a good live session with everyone, and so that's a good thing to keep in mind as well. So I thank you for viewing this, and of course if you have any questions or need assistance, you can contact us at Nova Collaborate Support, and that contact information is located here.